In the boundless tapestry of the mortal realms, where magic weaves the very fabric of existence, ancient powers and fierce warriors converge in an eternal struggle for dominance. Today, we find ourselves on the precipice of battle. The freezing winds of Antor whisper impending conflict, as champions and armies gather beneath the banners of their gods and allegiances. The realm trembles with the energy of anticipation, for the time has come for these forces to converge as two mighty hosts have been drawn by the promise of glory, conquest, or the defense of their sacred lands. Who will rise? Who will fall? The fate of the mortal realms hang in the balance. Join us as we delve into the heart of this Warhammer Age of Sigmar battle report. Today's battle report is part of our New Year New Army League. Today's match will be 750 points. Greg will be controlling the Idoneth Deepkin, Mor'phann Enclave, led by an Isharann Soulrender. Don will be controlling the Ossiarch Bonereapers, Mortis Praetorians, led by a Mortisan Boneshaper and Warmaster Arch-Kavalos Zandtos. Battle Plan 1, Table 1. Geomantic Pulse. Within the heart of Antor's ever-shifting plains, the air pulsates with icy and frigid power. These two formidable armies converge upon the mystical landscape, driven by a shared goal to seize and harness this elemental energy source and use it to freeze their foes in their tracks. Failure could mean the icy embrace of death for your warriors. The Ossiarch Bonereapers have strategically employed the scales balanced as their chosen grand strategy. The Idoneth Deepkin have artfully adopted the creeping Gloomtide as their grand strategy. If you live in the greater St. Louis area and would like to join our gaming community, please find the Discord link in the description. Winning the roll-off, Greg has decided to play the defender. Battle lines have been drawn. Units have been deployed. Don finishes deploying his units first and surprises Greg by deciding to take the first turn. Battle Round 1. Idoneth Deepkin, Tides of Death, Low Tide. Command points are issued. At the start of the first battle round, the Isharann Soulrender draws upon the energies of the Ether Sea to perform the esoteric ritual of Deep Sight. Seizing on the opportunity to achieve an early lead, the Ossiarch General selects Intimidate Invaders as his battle tactic for the round. Both generals fail their respective heroic leadership checks. The Bone-tithe Nexus harnesses its soul energy to inflict the punishment of agony upon the isolated unit of Nadirite in the northwestern corner of the battlefield. Both armies fail to harness the primal magics of Antor. The Mortisan Boneshaper attempts to cast Empower Nadirite weapons. However, utilizing his hand-carved nullstone icon, Lotten successfully unbinds the spell. Seeing an opportune target, Arch-Kavalos Zandtos commands his steed using unstoppable advance and moves towards the punished unit of Nadirite at a remorseless pace. The Nadirite icon-bearer attempts to redeploy her troops, attempting to put space between themselves and the deadly Warmaster. A unit of Mortek Guard runs north to gain control of the center of the battlefield. A second unit of Mortek Guard runs northward, further cementing Ossiarch control over the midfield. Cautiously, the Gothizzar Harvester moves into the ruins of an Antorian homestead. The Mortisan Boneshaper makes a calculated move, positioning himself behind a unit of Mortek Guard. The Gothizzar Harvester uses its missile attack, targeting the large unit of Nadirite trolls, but only slays one. Arch-Kavalos Zandtos successfully charges the Nadirite Reavers, utilizing Unstoppable Charge, decimating 5 Nadirite. In response, the Nadirite Reaver Icon Bearer issues the Unleash Hell command to her remaining troops. Despite utilizing the ripples of the Ether Sea, the Reavers only inflict 1 damage to Zandtos. Continuing the onslaught, the Arch-Kavalos uses Still Their Breath, utilizing his Will of the Legions. The Icon Bearer readies her troops, issuing all-out defense. After he and his mount attack, the Icon Bearer is all that remains of the Nadirite Reaver unit. The last remaining Reaver attacks with her Keening Blade and deals 1 damage to Zandtos. Unable to find the inspiration to continue to fight, the Icon Bearer fails her Battle Shock test and flees before the Soulrender can take advantage of his lure light to resurrect the fallen Nadirite Reavers. However, the Soulrender draws back the soul of the fallen Nadirite thrall, returning it to the battlefield. The Ossiarch Bonereapers successfully complete their battle tactic and control the 2 center objectives, scoring 3 victory points for their turn. Each player regains a command point. Again, both armies failed to harness the primal magics of Entor. The Isharann Soulrender successfully attempts heroic leadership. Zandtos successfully attempts heroic recovery, healing back to full health. Seeking to possibly regain control of the battlefield, the Idoneth Deepkin battle tactic for their turn is Revenge of the Nadirite. With their battle tactic handed down, the northeastern unit of Nadirite Reavers make a well-thought move southward, along the eastern edge of a forgotten cemetery, gaining full line of sight on the Gothizzar Harvester. The unit of reinforced Nadirite thralls purposefully marches against the western edge of the cemetery, readying themselves for an upcoming charge straight into the Gothizzar Harvester. Seeing through a most obvious plan, the eastern unit of Mortek Guard receives a command from the Hekatos, redeploying to close off the route to the Harvester. The Isharann general moves forward along the western rear flank of the thralls. Lot N, Warden of the Soul, follows closely behind. The Reaver's Icon Bearer issues all-out attack for the proceeding hail of arrows from their whisper bows targeting the Gothizzar Harvester. In response, the Boneshaper general commands the Harvester to all-out defense and only takes 2 damage. Still attempting to charge the Harvester, the thralls attempt a long charge but fail. Demanding more from his troops, the Soulrender general commands forward to victory. But the thralls still fall short, only making it to the Mortek Guard, but have now created a severe bottleneck for any direct path to the easternmost objective. Seizing on an opportunity, the Hekatos of the 2nd Mortek unit issues counterstrike and successfully countercharges into the thralls. In response, the Soulrender leaves Lot inside and charges into the now closer unit of Mortek. Then, being a hunter of souls, the Soulrender attempts to steal any loosely bound souls of the nearest Mortek, but fails to find purchase. Both units of Mortek take up sturdy shield wall formations. Facing a coordinated attack from 2 Mortek units, the massive unit of thralls are forced to split their attacks and are still within the influence of the catalogue of souls carried by Lot N. Their Icon Bearer demands an all-out attack. Their Nadirite Blade sweep through the unit, slaying 7 Mortek Guard from the southernmost group and 4 from the other. With the better manned unit of Mortek, the Ossiarchs split their attacks, attempting to both weaken the Idoneth general and slay a number of thralls. The Mortek Guard attack with Nadirite Blades but failed to inflict any damage upon the Deepkin general. Quickly riposting with his Talon Hook, the Soulrender's attack is easily deflected. However, the Soulrender's Rekadart companion pierces through with its serrated bill, slaying one Mortek. Don remembers that his group of Mortek still had attacks. He continues with his attack and slays two thralls. The second unit of Mortek attacks, wholly into the thralls, and slays two more. Following this, the Gothizzar attempts its grisly task of the bone harvest, reconstructing for fallen Mortek in the southernmost unit. The Namarti withstand the battle shock, and the Soulrender's Lure Light resurrects the fallen thralls, returning the unit to full strength. Failing their battle tactic for the round, the Idoneth Deepkin only score one victory point for holding the easternmost objective marker, and hope for a double turn. However, the tactically trained Ossiarch win the roll-off and will take the first turn of Battle Round 2. Battle Round 2. Idoneth Deepkin, Tides of Death, Flood Tide. Both armies succeed in harnessing the primal magics of Antor, generating two primal dice. The Ossiarch battle tactic for the turn is led into the maelstrom. The Mortisan general fails his heroic leadership test. Lot N, Warden of the Soul Ledgers, expends his font of willpower, granting the benefits of the ritual of deep sight upon the Namarti thralls. The easternmost objective pulses with Antorian power. The Bone-tithe Nexus casts its gaze upon the thralls, inflicting the punishment of agony. The Mortisan uses its necrotic arcane arts to reform the shattered bones of the fallen Mortek, clasping his Artisan's key to effect a second unit, returning 3 Mortek Guards to his closer unit and healing the Gothizzar Harvester to full health. The Mortisan Boneshaper then begins to conjure forth a great cloud of bone shards to hurl towards the Idoneth. But he is within the range of the Soulrender's Dritchleech artifact, and must tap into the entirety of his gathered primal energy in order to successfully cast his spell. However, the spell is unbound by Lot N, who taps into his own primal energies, once again using his hand-carved nullstone icon. A Mortek Hekatos orders his troops to reform ranks, feigning a retreat to perform a charge later in their turn. The Arch-Kavalos commits to another unstoppable advance, swinging deep into the Idoneth territory to the north behind a pair of ruined homesteads. Lot N decides to tactically redeploy himself along the opposite side of a ruin, hoping, if nothing else, to put some distance between himself and Zandtos. The Gothizzar Harvester moves eastward, out of the ruined home, positioning itself for an easy charge into the thralls, the bottleneck preventing it from reaching the more fragile reavers. Fully committed to their battle tactic, the Mortisan Boneshaper moves forward to join the fray, preparing to charge alongside the Mortek Guard. The Gothizzar leers its sights towards the Soulrender, readying its missile attack. But like a forgotten nightmare, the Soulrender fades away, and the Harvester's only choice is to launch its ranged attack at the thralls. 4 thralls are hit and wounded, but thanks to Lotan's font of willpower granting deep sight early, only 2 are slain. The Harvester then charges the thralls, followed by the Mortek. The Kavalos hesitates for a split second and fails his charge. He jabs his spurs into his undead steed, demanding forward to victory, but fails at the second attempt. Eagerly, The Mortisan charges into the thralls but accidentally puts himself within range of the Soulrender's Rekadart companion. The Gothizzar then roars at the thralls, who remain stalwartly unaffected. Hunting for souls, the Isharann general reaches out and rends 2 points of health from the Mortisan. The Boneshaper rakes the thralls with his ossified talons, killing 6 thralls. With unflinching coordination, the Harvester attacks into the thralls, who are now issued all-out defense. The Harvester's Soul Crusher bludgeons decimate 4 thralls, and its ossified hooves and tail slay an additional 2. Incensed by the loss of his Nadirite, the Soulrender sends his Rekadart towards the Boneshaper, but fails to wound. He then attacks the Mortek with his talon hook, cutting 3 down. The Mortek unit closest to the Harvester attacks into the weakened thralls, but thanks to Lot N are still benefiting from deep sight. And only lose 2 of their comrades. The now heavily diminished unit of thralls attack into the Harvester with their Lonmari blade, which takes 2 wounds. The 2 remaining Mortek from the second unit attack into the Soulrender, but their attacks fail. The Gothizzar uses its harvested bones to replenish its general to full health. Not allowing the Ossiarch general to escape so easily, the Soulrender casts his hangman's knot, cinching it tightly around his enemy's neck, and slays the Mortisan Boneshaper. Bearing witness to their general's coup de grace and his inspiring presence, the Nadirite remain steadfast and refuse to rout. Being renowned for their soul magic, the Mor'phann Soulrender utilizes its empowered lure light and returns 9 fallen thralls. The Ossiarch Bonereapers complete their battle tactic and maintain control of the objective adjacent to the pulse and score 4 victory points, but at the cost of losing their general. Command points are gained and 2 primal energies are collected. Seeing victory within their grasp, the Deepkin battle tactic is intimidate the invaders. The Soulrender fails heroic leadership. The Nadirite Reavers move closer to the Harvester to harness the ripples of the Ether Sea. Lot N runs southward to capture the western middle objective. The Reavers take aim at the Harvester, leaving it with a single remaining wound. The thralls split their attacks, making quick work of the Harvester, but only slay 2 Mortek. The Soulrender and Rekadart attack their closest remaining unit of Mortek, who all out defense, slaying 1 Mortek, but the last remaining Mortek easily deflects the Soulrender's talon hook. The Mortek engage with the thralls, attack in response and slay 2. The thralls pass their battle shock test and the Soulrender returns the 2 fallen thralls. The Deepkin now control the pulse and adjacent objective. The Idoneth Deepkin complete their battle tactic, control 3 objective points, the pulse, and the objective adjacent to the pulse, thus score 6 points for the round. The Ossiarch Bonereapers win and take the initiative. Battle Round 3. Idoneth Deepkin, Tides of Death, High Tide. The pulse moves west to the adjacent objective. Command points are gained. No primal energies are gathered. The Ossiarch battle tactic for the turn is reprisal. The Bone-tithe Nexus attempts to cast its deathly gaze to inflict the punishment of death onto the Soulrender, but fails. Both the Soulrender and Zandtos choose this to be their finest hour. Arch-Kavalos Zandtos charges into both the Soulrender and thralls. His unstoppable charge deals 1 damage to the Soulrender. The Soulrender fails to hunt Zandtos' soul. With the speed of gale-blown winds, the Deepkin strike hard, fast, and first this battle round. The Soulrender attacks Zandtos, but his attacks are deflected. The Namati split their attacks between Zandtos and the remaining Mortek, utilizing all-out attack. The thralls utterly fail at wounding the Arch-Kavalos, but slay the entire unit of Mortek, effectively terminating the Ossiarch grand strategy. Zandtos strikes at the Soulrender with his Dark Lance. The skilled Isharann blocks all of the attacks, but suffers 1 wound from the Kavalos' steed. The last remaining Mortek attempts an attack with its Soulcleaver Greatblade but fails to wound. The Ossiarch Bonereapers have failed their battle tactic and hold no objectives, scoring 0 points this turn. Overwhelmed by the tenacity and cunning of the Idoneth, the Arch-Kavalos orders a tactical retreat, conceding the battle and geomantic pulse to the Deepkin. Don and Greg talk through what would have been Greg's round 3 turn. The Idoneth Deepkin would gain the max victory points for their turn and complete their grand strategy. The final score: Ossiarch Bonereapers 7, Idoneth Deepkin 16. Victory for the Idoneth Deepkin. We hope you enjoyed our very first battle report. We'd like to hear from you and please consider subscribing.